Philadelphia, a city made of dense history, diverse culture, and passionate people. From sharing the tales of the grinding dreams and nightmares to highlighting the challenges and joys of Philly schools and Abbott Elementary, our city serves as a symbol for perseverance, something that I know all too well. I am a girl who grew up on the corner of 11th and Duncannon, on a block that made Philly truly feel like the city of brotherly love. But now that connection is lost. Gun violence has taken many of my peers' lives before they even reach the age of 18. When you take poverty, lack of resources, lack of love, lack of guidance, you get the current state of Philadelphia.
Living in North Philadelphia is, I would say it's like living in a war zone. And going out, you don't know what's gonna happen to you. I was just at the barber and someone walks in with his son. I see something tucked in his jacket. And he had a gun. He had a gun on him. He was just like talking with the barber. He was like, oh, they were just talking about the gun. They were like, oh, is that a 30? Like, oh, I got mine back home. Da da da. They were just talking about the gun casually, and it really made me realize how like this was a normal thing. Like it's normal to carry a gun for this individual, and a lot of people can relate to that. It's dangerous here. You could be caught in the wrong place in the wrong time, and that could be it.
As a toddler, I went through something traumatic in one of my older houses in Germantown, where one of my cousins, he had a weapon. I don't really remember the story, but I remember the cops coming in, shooting at our door, him hiding in the basement. We had to lay in line. When I found out my cousin had a weapon, I was just like, what is your reason for having a weapon? Why did you bring it to a family gathering when you know it's children there as well? Family scared, babies crying. It was just so much happening at once. Yeah, they ended up finding him, and he went to jail for a couple of years. He's out now, but like we don't associate with him anymore.
I'm almost never in the house. I didn't mean to say this as in I'm going outside and doing the wrong things, but I'm outside a lot. It just take one unlucky night for me and my friends to get caught up in something, and to make the wrong decision, get caught up in violence, take the wrong turn, wrong place, wrong time. That's all it takes. Around school, I know a lot of my peers, they walk in with gunshot wounds and whatnot, walking in with crutches. Oh, I got shot during the weekend or whatnot. Oh, I got shot. I was in the hospital. I couldn't make it to school. It's just a real prevalent thing, and I don't think it should be happening, Most recently, one of my peers that was in my class, he got shot and he was killed. They got a memorial in his locker and whatnot. It's real crazy out here, man. I mean, even some people you're not even going to see in school the next day, Some people not going to make it to graduation because there's so much stuff going on in the city. And then come back to school, you got people mourning at the locker. I was walking out earlier and I saw this little girl. She was just crying next to the locker, just bawling her eyes out. And my locker right next to his, and I couldn't even say nothing to her, yeah. I just understood. I grabbed my bags and I just went. I was like, yeah, it's like that.
Far too many people here in Philadelphia can relate to the experiences shared here. With so much bloodshed in the city, many wonder what could cause someone to commit acts like this in the first place. We spoke to community member and organizer Rashid Holland, who shared his experiences on the other side of the gun.
Well, just like anybody, it's easy to get caught up in the streets. I was a young juvenile, catching cases in and out of the jail system. When I finally got caught the big case, I was 16 days shy of turning 20. And I caught a 15-year bid, so I ain't even see 20s on my street. I came home, I was about 36 almost, from getting more time added to my time as well through the time. But drugs and gun, it's easy for us to do. It's the outlet. If you ain't got a jump shot, you selling crack rock. You know what I mean? It wasn't no other choices, Ain't too much handed to you. So it's like we drop out of school to chase the paper, to take care of little ones. And that be your situation sometimes. Sometimes you just gotta take care of the family, period, you know what I mean? The 80s had parents on drugs, so the kids had to do what they had to do and become grown-ups and be father figures to the siblings.
The time period Rashid is talking about is called the war on drugs. The declaration of this war by Richard Nixon and the introduction of harsh policies by Ronald Reagan caused rates of incarceration to rise in the United States. The war on drugs drastically affected Black communities. In fact, Black Americans make up nearly 30% of all drug-related arrests, despite accounting for only 12.5% of all substance users. In addition to the long-term impact on the war on drugs, other factors contribute to the current state of gun violence.
The state of Philadelphia's gun violence is devastating today. I've lived in Philadelphia for 11 years, and this is the worst that I've personally ever seen. I think that the pandemic exposed a lot, and I think that it highlighted the fact that we needed stricter gun laws. And if you mix that plus a lack of opportunity, plus just the financial breakdown for a lot of folks, I do think that creates an unhealthy storm that fuels gun violence in Philadelphia and nationwide.
The COVID-19 pandemic caused millions of Americans to be laid off. This required people to find other ways to access income. In some cases, people found it easier to get a gun than to get a job.
I know a young person whose father was laid off in April of 2020. Mind you, that was the first month of the pandemic, and hasn't had a job since then. And so what has that done to the household, right, as far as being to provide care? But one thing that we do know is that young person is now 2 years older, with friends who have guns, with friends who have other options to get money. And so he's going home to a home where his dad isn't able to work and still looking for work, no really money in the household. And now you have an environment where you have this opportunity over here to do this. That's a part of it.
It's easy to get a gun out this joint. It's so easy to get a gun out this joint. Getting the gun is just a phone call away. Yo, I need a gat, I need a pole, I need whatever. Like, I got a problem. Somebody gonna pull up and give you that. And the person that pull up, they might act like they really like you, and they might really do love you. So they giving you something to protect yourself.
I could go text somebody on Instagram right now to get a pole, you know, called ghost guns or whatnot. No serial numbers, nothing. They're untraceable. So that's what most people walking around rocking with, you know, they get it from their mans get it from somebody. You don't ask questions, you get it and then you got it, and you walk around with it.
Everybody got one, so I'd rather get caught with it than without it. But then what you do with that gun after the fact, that can change your life.
Growing up, there was a thing in the 80s, 90s of that time, so-called quote-unquote crack houses, right? Now we have gun houses, right? Gun houses are being busted every day in Philadelphia, where you can go there, it's cheap, in the same way that you could get substances back in the days. Now you can figure out, okay, I want the 45, I want the 9, certain number to face, or what have you.
I think there's a lot of root causes, but I think it all stems down to systemic racism. Not enough money has been put into Black communities. Schools in Black communities aren't funded as well as their white counterparts. That might lead to things such as them dropping out and then turning to life, on the streets, which is a very unfortunate situation. But in their perspective, they might not see another choice.
When I was coming up, you had PAL centers, a lot of PAL centers. You had a lot of libraries. How prehistoric is that now? Because in the early 2000s, they started shutting down a lot of the libraries, closing them down, a lot of the PAL centers. But you're doing it in the urban communities. So now the children don't have anywhere to go. They don't have nothing to occupy their time.
There's a lot of time that's being spent on corners. Whereas though you playing games, smoking weed, popping pills, and that's it. Whereas though when we came up, you was working, either going swimming, playing basketball. You had something to do. They don't have anything to do now. So it's kind of like they in a hard, is in a crossroad. And a lot of the beefs that's going on don't even really be about the money. It just be about them being bored. They don't have nothing else to do. And they doing it so long that it becomes, we already know this, you fall into the norms. It's like the norm to some of them.
The music do a lot, cause like when rappers be talking about killing and all that, that's like people be looking up to some of the rappers. Or like you see like YouTube, like look at stuff like that, videos, people like killing and shooting each other and stuff. Some of the people gonna think that's like, all right, it's cool to do just cause they did it.
Because you got these 15-year-olds, 12-year-olds, the ones that's doing the main shooting, cause it ain't even the 20s no more. They teenagers, they all teenagers that's doing the shooting, pushing people wigs. But it's a game to them after they, they high. They using everything. They popping pills, they smoking wet, they smoking weed, they drinking, they doing all this in one function. That's an imbalance on the brain. You can't make a good decision at that moment. So all it takes is one person to come up with something goofy. Yo, I dare you shoot dude. I do it. Like, they not in their right state of mind. I done been in a pen, the bullpen downtown, waiting to get took up to the big house with people that's knocked out. Wake up, man, what I'm in here for? They don't even know what they did. That's how high they was.
The use of drugs such as opioids have shown itself to be a growing crisis across the country, especially amongst young people. This issue has sparked a political push for access to mental health resources and drug rehabilitation services for young people, rather than incarceration being the primary method for handling drug abuse.
They need some drug treatment. They need mental treatment, psychological evaluation. They need all that. They're not getting that help that they actually need just by incarcerating you. You get incarcerated, we really rehabilitate ourselves. They don't tell y'all that part. The only part they tell y'all is, oh, we getting the bad out the community, but you make it worse. The stuff that you lock people up for, you do the same inhumane stuff to us. It's 5 people sleeping in one room, and the room ain't no bigger than from where you standing to me from head to head. One person sleeping under the toilet, but they don't, what they care for? They bad people. We ain't human though.
I've always said that we can't arrest our way out of this issue because we're not getting to the root of the issue, right? We could put all the folks that we want in so-called jails and prisons, but we're not getting to the core issue. The core issue that folks need are resources. The core issue that folks need are access.
You have a lot of young black men right now that would love to get out the street. They put flyers out every day. They got a job here, they got a job here, right? You take them to the job, they don't even get the job because they got a felony. I can assure you right now, and I can show you where they say jobs hiring, and we can go and fill an app out. They'll call me right back in front of you and say, oh, you have a felony. Felony 10 years old. They just won't hire you. So this is a lot of times, it make people don't even want to fill applications out. Like I go get guys, I got to take them all to Montgomery County because that's when I came home in 05, that's where I had to go to get a job.
Having a record, especially as a young person, can be very detrimental to their future. Thankfully, there are programs that give young people with a record a second chance. Jordan King and Faith Harris from the District Attorney Office spoke to us about their diversion program and the resources that they offer.
So diversion is an opportunity to reroute a young person's case from the traditional juvenile justice system into community-based programming. It's an opportunity for young people to avoid a juvenile record and all of the collateral consequences that come from juvenile justice system involvement. By collateral consequences, I mean that a young person's record, an adjudication of delinquency, which is, think of it as a conviction for adults, on a young person's record can affect their ability to apply to certain colleges, can affect their ability to get certain housing. It can absolutely disrupt their future. It can affect so many different aspects of their life. Even certain offense types can affect a young person's ability to get a driver's license. So diversion is not solely to ensure that young people don't have to face the consequences of a judge-imposed sentence, but also the collateral consequences that can come from this adjudication of delinquency.
I really believe that we are at the point where we need to have a holistic strategy and an approach to tackle gun violence. If we ask more questions about the incidents beforehand, whether that's what happened to the person or what the person was involved in, then I think you could start to create diagrams and create graphs, and you can create information, like you can collect the science on what's happening with each and every individual and how those people are interconnected, how the situations are interconnected, and how do you start to identify symptoms. Like that way you can start to figure out what do you need to do. And it takes everybody. We have to provide grief counseling to those who have already lost actual loved ones. We need to provide counseling through anger management programs. We need to be able to have resources and services to young people because there is a different path than picking up a gun. But they need to see what other options are out there. A lot of our young people are hopeless. and they don't see their future past the next couple years. So they have no reason to dream, they have no reason to see value in life, and we have to change that. Because for every young person or older person that unfortunately is shot and killed from gun violence, we have another person who is a shooter, who is also harmed by that. They also are traumatized, and they're hurting, and hurt people. So we have to figure out how to heal what's going on.
Many others share Faith's push for more mental health resources in the city. One program that currently does this work is Engaging Males of Color under the Department of Behavioral Health and Intellectual Disability Services. Gabe Bryant currently serves as the program's coordinator.
This initiative is designed to promote mental health and wellness for men and boys of color here in Philadelphia. Really, our goal is how do we make sure that we can, first of all, increase access and awareness to services. We want to make sure that we can reduce stigma around mental health. And we want to make sure that we can actually build health literacy. What that overall basically means is we provide folks with the tools on how to take care of themselves, maintain an emotional well-being. Yeah, an initiative targeting men and boys of color is important for a variety of reasons, right? When we started this, the reason was because public health is a huge issue, not only in Philadelphia, but really across the country. And the ways that, unfortunately, Black men in particular, but all men of color, have challenges around the disparities with their health, physical health, and mental. There was so many guys telling us, Mr. Gabe, I'm overstressed, right? I'm dealing with a lot of anxiety due to the violence, due to being underworked or rather overworked, underpaid, and all the other challenges. And so once we saw a lot of what we were hearing from people in the neighborhoods and communities, we know that an initiative like this could be impactful and could be meaningful. I think in many ways, there are community members who want, for instance, to increase the law and order because we're seeing so much violence, and I completely understand it. But what I've been consistent in saying in many of the town halls on this issue is, what if we just sat down and said, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna actually connect folks together, and we're gonna do meetings on the block, and we're gonna try to find ways to connect with the so-called shooters and figure out what they actually need.
Meeting shooters where they're at is exactly the work that Cure Violence does. Through the Violence Interrupters program, credible messengers meet with the community members to disrupt the cycle of violence.
The individuals that I'm working with, we really sincere about the job. And a lot of us did time that's here, understand what our guys is facing, what our community is in. A lot of them from the community, everybody from the community. They want to help. And the biggest thing we try to do is give the individuals the things that they want. We don't never try to force anything on them. Like when we take them in as, participants, we do an intake with them. This is where I think we thrive at, of setting these goals that the individual want and making them happen for them. The outreach team, they supposed to carry 15 high-risk participants that falls under the rules of carrying guns, hanging in gangs, recently released from jail, or been shot. These are the 4 categories that they gotta fit. Then we have a hospital responding team, because of course to work in the hospital you need the other part, which is the street team. Because a lot of times, our whole object is to mediate conflicts on the front end, so it won't be no shooting. But sometimes, you get there in the middle end or the tail end. So if we get there at the middle end, now that means somebody already been hit. So now we at the hospital, talking to them if he able to talk, finding out the location, finding out who we know in that area that we have a relationship with, see if he know what's going on. Now we try to mediate it from that end.
So we are in the community. We're not just in a community that we don't know. We're in a community where we know the people. We're from these communities. So when these guys that we know that's actively doing stuff, remember, I'm from this community. I was a person who at one point in time tore this community up. I was a person that these people actually idolized because I was doing negative stuff. So now that they see me doing positive stuff, and then not just positive stuff, I still look like I'm doing okay for myself. It shows a young guy that I don't have to do this. I can do something else and still make it.
I really want Cure Violence, other organizations, put aside differences, because I believe, and my team believe, that there's enough shootings and murders out here for all of us to deal with. So if we say we out here doing this and doing that, let's not say it, let's show it. This is my goal, to make sure or to hope that we can get other organizations to come sit at the table, and when we finish, we set a goal and we achieve this goal, and we come back and we set more goals and we achieve it. I don't want to sit at the table and we just talking and then we get up and we disperse and do the same old thing, because this what tends to happen. That's why a lot of times when they be like, hey, we having this, I don't like to go to them joints, because it really don't, like, you just talking, but there's nothing behind it.
Do I have hope for the city? I don't want to say that I don't, because that's a little bit of too much of a negative outlook, but the way things going, we need a lot of help, man. We need a lot of aid, financial aid with the programs and whatnot. You know, gun laws need to be better. Police need to be better. Everything need to be way better. And it's going to take a long time, so I don't think in these next 5 years, I don't think everything is going to get better just like that. But we can still try.
It's like the odds are stacked up against a lot of the people here in Philadelphia. But we're still here. We're still here. We're still fighting. We take it day by day. Despite all the negative that's going on, there are positives. There are silver linings. And I think that those things are what's going to take us to a better Philadelphia in the future.
My message to young people living it's more to life than gun violence. It's more to life than selling drugs. It's more to life than hurting each other, you know. But we gotta get through it. Like we have to educate ourselves. We have to show these young people that it is a different way of living. It really is. It's a different way of living. You know, I don't have all the answers, but I'm willing to help whoever.
So where do we go from here? How do we begin to heal from the damage that gun violence has caused in our communities? We've heard a lot about work that is currently being done. We must continue to support these efforts, but also step up in our neighborhoods. We need to check on each other and show more love and compassion. We need to listen to young voices, and most importantly, we need to hold our elected officials accountable. We need to return to a place that we can truly call the city of brotherly love.